Unmute us. Ha! Got
Yes.
it, you guys.
We're here.
We are here. And I even have our wonderful, we're going to see if our image today works, you guys, that I have on up. Oh, look at that. Boom, sham. I'm like talking like this is awesome stuff. I'm so glad that you guys are here with us today. We've already gotten the conversation started over there in our chat. And today you guys are going to be learning about how to get the most out of your live streams. And really this is the important thing, right? Because we spend so much time being able to create content in the first place, to be able to sit there and then, wonder, well, now what do I do? Right? Becomes really, really confusing for a lot of us. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Like, how do we create that content and what do we do with it afterwards? So glad that you guys are joining us. Woot woot. The frame does look all right today. It's not too bad. We're working on it. It's a work in progress, Beth. I'm so glad that you guys are here. And I've invited today Ashley DiMercurio. She is a reading tutor. She's joined our community a couple years ago, and she has been one of those people that, like, I love when people get to hear what she has to say, because she's not one of those people that does something but doesn't put into practice. That is really this is how this whole entire company got started, you guys, because we really wanted to be able to have real tutors who are getting out there and spreading the word about their business and putting these things into action, be the ones that are sharing the information with you. Not somebody who is, a big marketing guru who's going to charge you thousands of dollars to be able to work with them, but real down-to-earth tutors that get where you're going and can help you get where you want to be. All right. So that's what we do here at the Online Tutor Coach. So I'm so excited. We've got Maria here. She's from the Pocono Mountains, you guys. Does that sound gorgeous?
That does sound lovely. Is it probably cold? Is it still cold there though? I don't know.
I wouldn't think so. It's got to be warming up soon, because it's warming up here in Wisconsin, so it's got to be getting better. And we've got Rita Santos, who is from North Carolina. We've got Beth in Ohio, and Melanie Thomas from Texas. She teaches elementary math, and she is soon going to begin tutoring reading intervention. So that is really, really awesome. Pat is here. She's also from Wisconsin, just like me. Ooh, ooh. Give it up, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
So yeah, it's really cool. I'm so glad that you guys are all here and being able to join. And we've got Jim. We can't forget Jim. He actually tutors computer programming, JavaScript.
Wow.
No joke, right? Like that's so cool. I absolutely love it. So cool. So that is really awesome. Glad that you guys could join us. I want to know, you guys, what are your thoughts about live streaming? So type that on in. Now, as I mentioned to you guys before, Ashley has been part of our community for, I think it's been a good 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And you had started with another, like a Chinese learning English as a second language company. You were really that wasn't, you liked it and you knew that being able to work for them was great, but then you really wanted to put your passion of teaching reading to kids into practice and stop having to wake up so early in the morning to be able to tutor your students.
Right, exactly. For me, that was totally a stepping stone into launching my own business, because working for that company helped me to see that there were actually children learning online. It wasn't just college students and adults like when I was in college, and that online learning was totally different now with being able to video chat and so it really did help me to see oh my gosh, it just opened up this whole world to me. And that's when I started searching for, who is doing this out there. And that's when I found you.
Yay. Yeah, that's awesome. And the rest is history. Now you guys, Ashley is one of she's one of our coaches here, and you have the opportunity to be able to work with her. We actually have a special that is going on right now, but it only lasts until May 27th, where you'll be able to work with any of the coaches at 50% off. And we did that because of COVID-19 and more people needing one-on-one help and all of that kind of stuff. And Ashley was one of those coaches that was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, if we can help serve more people and be able to get them with their business started, that's awesome. So what we'll do is I'm going to have Beth grab the link so that we have like this choose your own coach page that you can like, you could choose Ashley to work with after you like listen to this and you're like, yeah, that's the girl I want to help me move my business to the next level. She would definitely be able to help with that. Now, I know that when you started doing live streaming for your tutoring business, you ended up you'd already done some live streaming with your other business. I remember watching a video that you had done with your kids of them eating bugs, like
no. They were eating a granola bar made out of cricket flour.
Okay, well, crickets are bugs.
But it wasn't like they were eating a cricket.
Right, well, true that. All right, fair enough. So they were eating cricket powder, and that was like some of the stuff that you were doing beforehand. But then what changed? What was different for you when you started live streaming for your online reading tutoring business?
Yeah, definitely. When I'm live streaming for my online tutoring business, I feel like I have a lot more purpose and I'm really trying to, there's more passion. I'm really trying to serve and help the families that are out there because for me, part of becoming a reading tutor and really wanting to dive into the reading interventionist program and really being passionate about reading is from my own son and his struggles learning to read and him being a reluctant reader. And so I felt like I could really feel how other parents were feeling because I had also experienced that. So once I started doing live streaming for reading, it was easier because I was like passionate about it and I was excited about it. And I think that people can see that too when they watch me do a live stream for my business versus something I did in the past. So
yeah, for sure. Your very first, I want you to like picture back to like your very first live stream that you did. What were you feeling?
Terrified. I can still remember sitting. We used to have a basement office, and I would sit down there and be like, I can't do it. You know, being so nervous that something, that I would say something stupid or I'd have like a spider on my head or I don't know, something scary. It was a basement. There was a lot of spiders down there.
So. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely. And, the nice thing is when you're live streaming, especially when you're first starting out, there's probably not going to be tons and tons of people watching you. So if you make a mistake, it's not that big of a deal. And you can just not save it. Like you could just delete that video from your page. If it doesn't go well or you're not happy with it, then the 5 people that watched it, they saw it, but then you delete it,
Right. It's not like it's like it's gone live to the world forever and ever and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. You just don't share that one after that day, and that's fine. But I'm the kind of person that, Sam will come to me and say, well, what's the worst that could happen? And I'll say, oh, I'm so glad you asked because I've thought of 1,000 things. And then he has to talk me down and be like, no, really.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. And I really do feel that it's such a good platform for people to kind of get to know your personality, get to know who you are. It really starts to build that know, like, and trust capability. So even if you screw up, people kind of respond to that, not so much in a negative way because they know that everything's kind of like on the fly and...
Right. I feel like people love reality TV generally. Like there's so many reality TV shows out there. And even, I feel like it peaked maybe in the 90s and there's not as many new reality TV shows coming out, but that and like on Instagram, when people are posting stories, that's just a version of reality TV and people love Instagram stories. Mm-hmm. So I think people, like you said, that is one of the best ways for people to really get to know you and see you as a real person, not just this business name on the computer. So
yeah, exactly. And so, we were starting to talk about like, what we were going to talk about, today, like what points do we really want to bring up for people? But before we get to that, you guys, I really want to share like, why is live streaming so important? Like, why are we spending so much time on live streaming? Like, this is like 2 weeks in. Some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, Joanne, would you like stop the live streaming? But like live streaming, I really do feel like you guys is an easy way in. You know, everybody can do it. Everybody has access to it. You really don't need to spend a lot of money in order to get started. And it's something that you can improve as you go. You can go on. So I know that some of you guys right now, some of you guys are going through my Jumpstart program right now. Okay. I know that you're starting to feel overwhelmed because you're like, Joanne, you have so many ideas. And I want you guys right now, I want you, if you are going through that program right now and you're like in overwhelmed because you're like, I have so many ideas and I'm sharing them with you. And you're like, I don't know what to implement and when to implement it. Start small. Just think about like, what 5 things can I do today to be able to take my business to the next level? Okay. Like, you live streaming might be part of the process. It might not be part of the process, but I also want you guys that are in Jumpstart just to remember that your goal is to get 1 student or a whole lot more, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to master every single one of these things that I'm teaching you overnight. And that's not, it's one of those things like you try it, you do it, you figure out what didn't go wrong, and you make it better for next time. That's it, okay? So don't put a lot of pressure on yourselves if you're watching this and you're part of that program right now. Now, what happens when people don't do live streaming? Okay. Since live streaming is such an easy thing, more tutors can do it, right? And so they are getting on out there. So now you have people who are live streaming and you're not, right? So it does run that capability of somebody wanting to choose somebody that they can connect with a little bit more versus just a website that greets them, right? Like there's now other methods that you're trying to reach on out to your audience. Now today we're going to be specifically talking about a solution to this problem of content, right? Like, okay, where do I get the ideas for it? What do I do with it? And what do I do with it afterwards? You're going to be getting answers to all of that today versus some of the stuff that we've already talked about. And then if you guys actually try some of the things that you learned today, I promise you that while it may feel like a lot of work in the beginning, it's going to get easier and easier as time goes on. Now, today, this call is being sponsored by the Online Tutor Coach. And as I mentioned, we have coaches that are tutors inside of our entire business model. Along with that, we have different courses that we've put together for you. And Sam DiMercurio, which happens to be Ashley's husband, is going to be starting a course starting on Monday. You still have one more date that you can join that course and be able to learn more about live streaming for your business. And our wonderful Beth is going to grab that link for you so that you can, if you don't want to miss out on that and you want to get more hands-on help with designing a great live streaming plan, you need to get your hands on that course. So definitely when Beth comes on up, she'll put it there. All you have to do is click on that link and you'll be able to join us. So our very first thing, we were talking about this, like what's the very first thing that people need to know? And we realized the very first thing that people needed to know, is to
3 main ways that I go about figuring out what I want to live stream about. So the first thing I do is I think about any questions that my current or past clients or friends with kids have ever asked me about my subject. So my subject is literacy. So if I've had a parent come to me and say, I just don't know how to help my kid practice sight words, then that could be a great topic for me. 5 simple non-screen activities for practicing sight words. Like parents are really into that right now because our kids are all on screens all the time. So
right.
And people can't really get out much to get a lot of supplies. So, simple sight word activities for things you already have in your house, So like I just take any ideas, any topics, any questions, I guess, that parents are asking me now or have asked me in the past, and I keep them in a Google Doc so that I have like a record of, what those questions have been. So that's the first thing I do for topics. And then the next thing I do is I ask my audience. So I might ask on Facebook and on Pinterest or not on Pinterest, excuse me, on Instagram. So I'll ask on Instagram, what is one thing that you're struggling with right now when it comes to reading? Or what is one thing you're struggling with right now when it comes to math? And maybe I put like a poll on Instagram so people can vote. So this week I did, what would you like to learn about today? And I did a poll, and A was the sight word activities, and B was ways to take pressure off reading at home. And then the majority of the people voted on the sight word. So in my Instagram stories this week, I shared, 5 super easy ways to practice sight words. So that's been really helpful. And then finally, I'll go to Pinterest and I'll look and see what pins in that like, I don't want to keep using the word topic, but whatever your area is that you want to live stream about. So if you're a science tutor, I'll look for pins that are really, really popular and have been pinned a lot and see if I can come up with a live stream from that pin.
That is a great idea because you're already taking a look at what people are really enjoying and, sharing and thinking about. And it's amazing how when you start playing with it that way, that comes on up. One thing that I'll do, you guys, is I'll actually go to Title Generator and I put my topic on in, and then it gives me like different ways to kind of present it. And it's kind of cool because it's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I wouldn't have thought about it from that point of view. And now I not only have a title for it, but now I also have an idea or a perspective or a point of view that I can approach it from that I wouldn't have necessarily approached it from before.
And is that a website? I'm like writing down notes.
Yeah.
See, yeah. I always learn from Joanne. I'm here sharing with you, but also, what was that website?
Yeah, so it's Title Generator. It's title-generator.com. Or even if you just put in Title Generator into the search, you'll be able to see a title generator come on up. So
I've done that for like blog topics before because I write for the Vermont Moms blog, and I've done, put in your topic, parenting and whatever, and they'll come up with a bunch of different blog titles. So that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it definitely helps to be able to bring that about. And then, so you've really got those 3 main strategies that you utilize to really brainstorm and think about, those frequently asked questions, what's already popular out there.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought of one more thing.
Yeah.
So recently I have been using like holidays or seasonal themes to also help me think of ideas. So at the beginning of May, I went in and searched like literary holidays in May 2020, just to see what's out there. And it just happened that the first week of May was Children's Book Week. Yeah. And so it was great because the website that they had created for Children's Book Week already had like, printable coloring sheets, and it had bookmarks, and they had, all these different live things that authors were doing. And so I was able to just take off from that holiday and post a bunch of stuff about Children's Book Week, share some of their content was already created. And then I did a live stream with Alexa called Spring into Reading, which we talked about all these different ways to, have a flow of different engaging books in your house, how to keep things interesting. And even when you can't get out, like how can you rotate the books you already have, or how can you present them in a new way? And
absolutely. Oh, I love it. That's awesome. So think about holidays as well, you guys, because the holidays sometimes will kind of go around. So with holidays, it's great to kind of have that knowledge even like ahead of time. Do you have some kind of a content plan that you use to be able to know like what you want to live stream about and when?
I do have a content plan. I'll even show you. So I use, this one is the content planner from Kat Gaskin, I believe and she's an entrepreneur like us. She's one woman. She has this is her product. And I actually took a virtual content planning workshop with her earlier this month. But so it just is a paper planner, which for me works well because I like being able to write things out and track things this way. But you could certainly create something like this easily on, like a spreadsheet kind of thing.
Sure.
But I love for this planner, the reason I love using it is because she does put holidays in the beginning. So she has these like monthly themes page where you can get some different ideas. So for May, it's like getting ready for summer, Mother's Day. And so her things apply to all business. So this is not specific for education or tutors.
Sure.
So sometimes there's things in here that really don't apply to me, and I have to be creative and think about, well, how can I take that idea and put that like literacy spin on it?
Right.
So,
That's very
yeah.
cool. And even if you guys are using like the 90X Goal Planner,
Yeah.
there is inside of there just a blank page. I'm just gonna scroll to it really, really quick. But you've got your like daily breakdown where you could put that down for there. But then you also have a month at a glance. And so
Perfect.
you could place them right inside of there, whatever it is that you plan on being able to utilize and use. I'm
Yeah.
trying to like find that like really quick one.
Yeah, I like while you're looking for that,
There it is.
I have my
That.
4 live streams for the month like mapped out already. I try to
Mm-hmm.
decide that because that's what drives the rest of my content.
Right. And,
So,
and that's really really key. So you've got some great strategies for finding some great content based off of useful information for people. Now, there's lots of people, they want to get stuck on one kind of content.
oh,
They want to get stuck on, well, maybe I should do, like, I should show an example lesson of what it would be like to tutor for me.
okay. Yeah, you
But
can one time.
right. So we want to, if you're going to do it, you guys, limit it. And you'll find some of those, like, you'll find some of those things. I repurpose that same video all of the time. Like, I have like a lesson where I'm like showing fluency and how quickly I can close the fluency gap for a kid, right? And so, like, I use that video all the time if people want to see what does an example session look like, but that's not what all my content is on.
Right.
Right,
Right.
because
Because
that
part
would
of
get
live
boring.
streaming, right, and part of live streaming and putting out content is to develop your authority and your expertise in your field. So just showing one thing over and over again is not going to establish that.
Right. And my poor math tutors, you always have to listen to me say the same thing. Like, don't just do problem after problem after problem, like how
Right.
to solve it, right? Like you
Right.
want to think about like what are some other things that people are, kind of struggling with? What are some other, if you kind of use Ashley's thought process, what are questions that people are already asking you? What are, different pins related to math around the things that you know a lot about that you could, have content about as well. So all, and then, are there any holidays? All that stuff is really going to help you with thinking about varying your content.
Hmm.
And at some point, when you get a chance, Ashley, people want to, if you could share the name of that. Actually, if you tell me the name of it, I'll type it on in. What's the name of it
Sure.
again?
The content planner.
The content plan. Well, that's a really original. And who is it by again?
Kat Gaskin. And she's on
Kat
Instagram.
Gaskin.
I definitely recommend following her. I'm not an affiliate. I wish I was because, but I love her stuff and I love her planner. And she has a virtual workshop she's doing right now, which I'm super excited about because before that they were in like Hawaii and Toronto, before COVID, and I would never be able to access those. But now that she's doing these virtual 1-day workshops, um, it's much more accessible to people all over the world. And I learned a ton about content planning from her. And just to what you were talking about topics and what to live stream about and getting stuck on one thing, she talks about recurring content that is important, and something like that could be a recurring content that comes up, like once a month. Maybe you share an example of a lesson, but also she talks about introducing yourself. Like, make sure you're introducing yourself in your content regularly, because not everyone is going to see your introductory post every time you post it, and hopefully you're growing, so you're always getting new people on your page. So don't forget to just introduce yourself, say who you are, tell them, it's know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust.
No, like
They
a
have to
trust.
get to know you. They have to get to know you.
They do, and
Yeah.
that's really pivotal for online communication. While a lot of people are using a lot more virtual and online tools and that kind of stuff right now, it's not going to be like that forever, And so, while it's easier right now, it may not always be easier to get people to say yes, and they may feel like they need to know, like, and trust you just a little bit more. So it definitely helps. And Beth asked a really good, actually, Lynn asked a really good question. Some people have already taken Sam's course, and they're wondering, can I rejoin it? Absolutely. And you guys, I kind of have this philosophy when it comes to the courses that we put out, except for the Jumpstart one. Any other courses that people join, you're able to join it over and over again when the live calls are happening again, when we release it again at
Mm.
no additional cost. And the reason for that is because sometimes we need to hear information again in order
Mhm.
to really begin to understand it, apply it, put it into place. And so if you've already been part of his course one time, you can join it again the second round, and you can ask your specific questions that you have with each week's content as it is released. So that's something that is good for all of you guys to know. Now, point number 2, you guys, is dun 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 dun. All right. So, point number 2 is that wonderful outline. Creating an outline for your content. Nobody in the history of anybody, have you ever seen somebody go onto a, like, let's just use, remember Full House?
Mhm.
They now have
Of
Fuller
course.
House,
Of
right?
course. I grew
Yeah.
up on Full House.
Me too, me too. So they have now Fuller House, but whether you watch Full House or Fuller House or any of those, right? They never say at any point, "Hey, you guys, just randomly talk about anything."
Not
Right.
improv.
Right. They actually have like different scenes that they are creating. They've got scripts.
Mhm.
Now, this does not mean that you have to script everything out, right?
Mhm. Right.
But at least have an idea of what it
Right.
is that you're going to be talking about. So you use an outline for yours.
Yeah, I do. I tried using a script in the beginning. I did a video with a script, and I remember showing it to Sam, and he was like, "Sounds like you're reading a script." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." You know, like it didn't sound like me, you
Yeah.
know. It just I when I read a script, I'm like reading the script, and I don't, you know, I found that it didn't wasn't authentic to what I wanted to like how I wanted to come across, I guess.
Right.
So I started using just an outline instead, and I create, I have a document in Google Docs that I just copy every time I have a new topic that comes up. So I've got the topic on there, and then in the beginning, I think of like the introduction period where I know I want to introduce myself. I want to say hi, thanks for getting on. This is what we're going to talk about today. Um, and then I usually try to have something in the introduction period that gives people time to get on. So I have found that when I'm doing my live streams, it's like a solid 20 minutes sometimes before I have reached the peak of my attendance, I guess is the way to
Yeah.
say it. So not everybody gets on right away. Facebook pushes out your live stream. So people are getting notified. They look at their phone, they decide to hop on, whatever. So I know Sam likes to use a countdown timer where it says like starting soon. And I do try to use that, but I find I'm always like, getting on, not at the last minute, but our life right now, we're sharing the office, we're wrangling kids. So I don't end up having a lot of wait time. So anyway, let's say I'm getting going live at 3:30. I'll hop on. I do all of that introduction stuff in the beginning, and then I like to have something that I can talk about for 5 to 10 minutes. That's not the main topic to give people a little bit of time to get on. So I usually share a book. So I might say, oh, if you're hopping on live with us, please comment. Let me know in the comments, what are your kids reading at home? I've got to share this book with you. This week I'm sharing Coraline, whatever. And I'll talk about why I love it or who I'm using it with. Or I've had students sometimes send in like book recommendations. So one of my friends had her daughter like sent me a picture and like, here's Hadley and she's reading, I forget what she was reading, Guts, I think. That one,
Okay.
Guts or Smile, I forget. But anyway, so I
Oh,
like to have
yes.
something I can kind of talk about for a few minutes as people are getting on, and I can say hi to them. And so that's my whole like introduction part is saying hello, welcoming people, and saying what we're going to talk about, and then also sharing something related to my field, a
Mm-hmm.
little something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the introduction part, and then I try to keep it to 3 to 5 teaching points.
Yep.
So if we're talking about whatever the topic is, I'll have 3 to 5 key points that I want to cover about that topic. And so I put in my outline, I'll put those key points and then bullets, like what do I want to make sure I talk about for this particular bullet.
Mm-hmm.
So I have those. And my conclusion is, saying goodbye, thanks for getting on, checking if there was any questions or specific comments that I want to share that came up during the live stream. I'll make sure that I read those or say those, address any questions that came up. I'll answer them. And in a perfect world, I'll say, make sure you join me next week on Sunday at 3:30 when I'm going to be talking about whatever the next topic is. So I don't always know, but I like to try to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we do the best that we can, right? You try to like plan all of this stuff on out as far in advance. And then, what I'll find is like, oh, I'm like 3 weeks ahead, right? And then like week 3 comes by and I'm like, but I didn't plan that next week, right? And I was like, well, it is what it is. Right. But as long as you're really consistent, I really do think that like that consistency is really, it really does help with being able to build that audience.
It really does. And I mean, I know that not everyone is going to have the same results, but I can say from my experience before March, so for our family, we had the coronavirus hit and everything shutting down, and our family actually had to move that month. So we had this like massive transition in a lot of ways in our life. And up to that, I'd been doing weekly live streams, and I had to stop doing them for a little bit because my life was too crazy, and we're picking them back up now, and I'm doing them again this month. But that is to say, when I was doing them regularly, I was getting a message every week in Facebook inquiring about my services, like consistently. They didn't necessarily say I watched your live stream, but they're saying, well, I searched on Facebook and you came up. So when I was doing live streams every single week, I was getting inquiries every week in my box. And then once I stopped, they stopped. So I think there is something to be said for that, how Facebook is the algorithm and how they're valuing people who are live streaming over those that aren't. And so, and one of my first clients came right after, I can't remember if it was my first live streaming video, but when I very first started live streaming 2 years ago, one of my very first clients said, oh, I was on your live stream and the things you were saying were exactly my daughter, and she signed up.
Yep. So it works. I mean, at the end of the day, it works. And so that's why I said, like, if you guys read my email today, I talked about that magic bullet. And this is kind of a magic bullet solution. It really, really is. Because you have that ability to just, we're not saying that you have to create like insane content that you've got to research. You're sticking to the things that and that's easy to talk about,
Definitely.
And it just gives people like that ability to, people don't buy. I think a lot of people think people buy off logic. And I think that's the number one thing. That's the biggest mistake. People don't buy off logic. They buy based off of emotion. So if you have tapped into some kind of an emotion while they're live streaming with you, they're going to be more apt to find out what is that next step to be able to work with you.
Definitely. Yes. And I do like to share, share my freebies or share any current stuff that's coming up in my business at the end of my live streams. Also, I forgot to mention that in like the conclusion section, I try to say, whatever. Oh, make sure you, stay tuned because next week we're going to be talking about the new summer program we're starting or whatever it is. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And then we have, you guys, dun. We have one last amazing point that Ashley is going to be sharing with you guys. But first, before we share with you what that point is, I'm going to share with you how when I got started with live streaming, I liked live streaming and I liked video. I loved it. I was blogging because at that time of my business, everyone was saying blog, which blogging is great. It definitely does get more eyeballs. I mean, I had 4,000 subscribers on my blog, you guys. And so there's definitely like people who want to be able to read blogs, which is great. Okay. but it wasn't my forte. My forte is
Mm-hmm.
video. Like, I belong in front of a camera. I've always belonged in front of a camera. I was that little girl, like, when my mom's cousin at Christmas would come and he would videotape every Christmas. I was the kid jumping in front of the camera going like this, like, look at me, look at me, look at me. Like a camera is just like, I was meant to be on the stage. I always danced on stage. I performed. I was in all of the plays. This was my platform and I knew it was my platform, but I kind of walked away from who I was a little bit based off of the things that I heard other people saying, which was like, you
Mm-hmm.
need to be blogging. And so at one point, I decided, why not have the best of both worlds? What if I get a VA who could take my recorded live streams or my lessons that I do like inside of YouTube, and she now turns that into like a script,
Mm-hmm.
which in essence is pretty much what you do in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because point number 3, are you guys ready? Is you got it. Repurpose your content. So that is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what Ashley does. She repurposes her content. So tell us about this. What does it look like and how do you do it?
Yeah. So once I've created that outline, I can use that outline to create all different kinds of content. So I can, one of the things that I like to do is take the outline and sort of fill it out a little bit more and turn it into a blog post. And I am sort of like you, Joanne. I prefer to speak. So I prefer like podcast or video to writing a blog post. I just feel like, again, I can get more across when I'm writing and talking and people can see me and like feel my enthusiasm and different than in my writing. But I do like blogging too. Anyway, so I like it when I can take that outline and turn that into a blog post, and it's much faster than just like sitting down at a screen and trying to write a blog post from scratch. I already have this outline, so I'm just sort of filling it out. I'm adding details, I'm adding links, I'm maybe some images, so that
Yeah.
goes much faster. You can also take parts of your script and use it in a newsletter to your subscribers. So I
Mm-hmm.
like to take one of the teaching points, and I'll make sure to include that in my weekly newsletter to my subscribers, saying, in case you missed it, I did this live stream and I talked about sight words, and I shared 3 ways to practice at home. Here's just one. If you want to see the whole thing, you can catch the replay here, right? And I include the link in my email to go back to catch the replay. And because I use ConvertKit, I'm able to sort of track who clicks on what in my emails. And people are clicking on that replay and going back
Mm-hmm.
and checking out the replay. So that's been really good. And then I can take those teaching points and create graphics. So let's say one of my teaching points was using letter tiles for sight words.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I take a picture of all the different kinds of letter tiles I have, and I'll post that on Instagram or Facebook with a caption, with the copy of the post will go into more detail. But on the graphic, it might just say, I'm trying to think if I still have this picture on my phone here, just to be able to like show you an example. Okay, so this was a picture I took just of
Mm-hmm.
all the different kinds of letter tiles you can find, right? I mean, the little beads I found at the dollar store. So it doesn't
Nice.
have to be an expensive bananagrams. And even I think that's $10 on Amazon. So there are so many different kinds of letter tiles you can get. And I could share this with maybe heading on here that says, make sight words fun, and then in the copy, I talk about all the different ways you can use letter tiles to practice sight words, So I'm just taking smaller bits of the whole outline and putting it into the appropriate platform. So, you know, depending on, Instagram is more image based. So something like this would work really well on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook, maybe in Canva, I make like a quote. That's just one quote from the whole outline, and then a teaching point in the copy of the
Mm-hmm.
post and so those are the main ways that I repurpose it.
Yeah, that is awesome. Lynn Wilson is wondering, do you get results with your newsletter? Do you think it increases your viewers for live streaming?
Well, I think it increases my viewers for live streaming. I'm not sure if it does yet because I only just started really building my email list in the last few months, and I I include now at the end of my newsletter, make sure you um make sure you tune in live on Sunday at 3:30. So if I know in advance, but like Joanne mentioned at the beginning, I tutor full time. I have two young kids. Like sometimes I don't know exactly what time is going to work, and so I can't always say. So that's what I'm trying to get better at, that at being committed to always showing up on Sunday at 2:30,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the time is, so that I can say in my emails, this is when I'm live streaming. This is what we're talking about. Please show up.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
stay tuned. Stay tuned. Ask me that again in like a month.
I'll give you guys my experience. So last week, big faux pas happened. Okay, so Sam was coming on with us live, and I wrote out this incredible email, like letting people know. It was really good. Like I was really proud of it because I don't really like the writing side of things, but I was really proud of this one. Okay, and then I like get onto the live, and I really needed to let people know because this was going to be a time change. So I was changing the time from a normal, like we're usually here, 11:30 a.m. Central. I needed to let them know why they needed to show up early at 11 o'clock and even earlier than that so they could see like the countdown. And at the end, I'm like, gosh, we had really low numbers. Like that was weird. Like usually my numbers are okay, but it was like 10 people were on with us. Okay. And then all of a sudden I realized it was like 8 o'clock at night. And I look, I never pushed send. I'm like, well,
no.
there we go. Yep, that would be why a lot of people did not show up. Okay. So it was like one of those things. It was like, what can you do at that point? You can't. So I repurposed that email because it was so good. And I was like, well, I'll let them know about the replay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Like things happen. You're going to make mistakes and you move on. But it definitely does help to let people know that you're going to be doing it. So this is really cool because you just don't repurpose it just for your blog. You think about how could I repurpose this content now on Instagram? Now, are you pointing people to your blog post?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm also on Pinterest at this point. And I am able to create pins that go to the blog posts, which then they can sign up for the freebie, or sometimes I can create a pin. Yeah. So I'm sort of directing people mostly always back to my website, but I also direct people to the live streams as well. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of depending where you're going to get those two different locations. Like, hey, show up live for my live stream, and then hey,
here's
up
the
to
content.
the blog post. Yeah.
Right. And I want to say, and maybe this is obvious, but I didn't do this from the beginning. Joanne mentioned that I'm 2 years in, and I've added things on as I grew and as I could handle it, and I've gotten help where I need help. So I have someone who helps me with Pinterest now, because for me, I didn't feel like I had the bandwidth to learn another platform and learn how is this really going to grow my business. So I found somebody I know who does that, and I've been able to have her really help me grow my Pinterest. And I'm at the point in my business where I feel good being able to delegate and like say, okay, I don't want to take this on. You're good at this. So, you can do this for me. And so I think just take a little bit at a time, right? Like what's one thing, or in terms of your 5 action items, put one thing on there that you can add that's new. What are you going to learn this month?
Right.
So it takes time to be able to do. And I don't do all of it all the time either. Some weeks I don't get to post all of the graphics on Instagram, and like, that's fine,
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I don't even let people know that I'm going live. It was like, oops, that didn't happen. And yet I'm still there and I have people show up. So it's because I do have that same time, same place kind of mentality. But at the same time, it does get kind of wonky sometimes. Like life happens, and that just is the way it is. Because look, we have families, and we're running our own tutoring businesses, and we're trying to help other tutors. So it's like it's just life just sometimes gets in the way when we get there. You know what? I just found this really cool tool.
What?
So it's so cool. So like, you can do it 4 times in the month for free.
Oh.
It is called Otter. and it will take any of your content. You upload it, and it will automatically create a transcript for you.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, and I'm pretty much a fan of it. So we're gonna see right now if so. I took like Sam's live streaming. We did a live streaming webinar this week. It was on Monday. If you missed it, you definitely want to check it out. You can check your inbox because that replay will be up for one more day, and you can watch that. But I was like, well, what would it look like if I took that transcript and I put it into Otter? So you guys get to see that happen right here. So I am going to take off our fun little image here, share my screen, and come on over to Otter. Now I'm going to just refresh it. We're going to see if it's still processing. It was processing before, but we'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be really a game changer.
Yeah. Right? Now it's still processing for here. But like I took a couple that I just turned it on so I could like see what it would say. And I was actually really impressed with the accuracy of it. So here, I'm going to just show you guys in real time. At any point in time, I can actually take record, and I could just push record, and I could just talk into it. What I like about it is it's different than other recorders. Like there used to be like Dragon back in the day. There was, there's like even Siri can like, copy down what it is that you say and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not always as good. So I'm going to hit here, record, and now you're going to start seeing me talking in real time. But it's actually going to add in the periods and the commas right on inside of there. And of course, now that I want to like demonstrate it live, it's saying no connection.
And so do you have to actually say period or
No.
comma, or does it like senses where it goes?
It senses where it goes. Yes.
Because my mind was blown yesterday. I mean, I've known this technology is out there, but I've never used it for business. And yesterday I just did a speech to text on Google Docs. Like I just turned it on, but you do have to say period, comma, next line or whatever, question mark. But still, I was able to write up our webinar for our summer program because I was listening. You helped us with the webinar, and when was that? Monday? And so I took my notes from that call, and I was just speaking into the Google Docs, and now it took me like 10 minutes. Now I have almost the whole webinar written, but just from like speaking. And my mind was like, this is going to make me so much more effective.
It really can, because you could even start thinking about, okay, I'm not really a good writer, but I'm really good speaker. Well, then you can utilize something like this to be able to kind of just talk out your thoughts, and now you can organize them. You just, you can reorganize. You can think about what would be a great heading for this. Like this is great for even like blogging. It just has endless possibilities there for you guys. So take a look at that. Like did you see before how it was like pop, 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 and then it changed it automatically to like possibilities because it was like listening. So it's AI enhanced, which is incredible and makes a really big difference. So I am very, very fond of this tool. They do have like this team thing where you could even, if you had a bigger business, you could even put it right directly inside of Zoom. And then they would be able to grab both sides of the conversation. But the best thing to do right now is just grab the audio and upload it right on inside of there. And that's the cheapest way to be able to do it at this point. You get 4 of them for free every single month. And they do restart over every month. It won't add to it. So if you have 4 uploads, next month, if you didn't use any of them, it's not going to go to 8. You still only have 4 uploads. That's it.
Interesting. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, look how accurate it is.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm totally really like that. So that could be another tool, you guys, to help you with being able to repurpose the content that you have. So hopefully these tips have been helpful for you guys. It's been great to be able to connect with you and hear what you guys have and have to say. We've got Sharon. She says that she finds if she starts with a plan to repurpose, then she's not bummed when she doesn't have as many viewers. That's so true, isn't it? Like We do kind of get bummed when you see like 2 viewers on and like one of them's your mom and you're like,
Yeah.
thanks, mom. Right?
Yeah, totally.
I've now reached the point where my mom doesn't watch mine. It's so targeted to like my ideal client. My mom has no interest in watching these, so that's actually a good thing, because you know that you've kind of grown to the next level, right? Like you really are targeting what you're saying to your ideal client, and it's all good. But if she ever wants to hear my voice, she can always turn on my YouTube channel.
Exactly.
So if you guys didn't get a chance, Beth is going to put into the link again that link for Sam's course. The doors do close tomorrow night, so you will not be able to join it after midnight tomorrow night, because he's going to actually be doing live lessons with people, answering people's questions, and that starts next week. So we always want to make sure that we get the most amount of people that do sign up, that you are able to come onto a live call with him. So we will take a look and be able to ask you what times work for you guys, right? So if you're like, well, what time is it? We don't have a time yet, because it's going to be based off of the availability that you guys have. So that's always good to know as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Ashley. I know you have to actually boogie because you have to tutor. And,
I sure do.
And then I have to tutor. So we are ending a little bit oh, thanks. And in case anybody has forgotten, you need to wash your hands. Our little PSA from Lynn Wilson.
Oh, yes.
Thanks, Lynn.
Well, I don't go anywhere, so I'm good.
I did go to Jazzercise today. So and we get to actually have this is only for you guys to know, okay? My Jazzercise people don't know this yet. We actually get to have up to 25 people in class next week.
Whoa.
Yes. So we're very excited here in the Jazzercise world. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see all of you soon.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.